So, this is actually going to be about something. I don't know yet what it is going to be about, but it's probably going to be about something pretty amazing and pretty interesting, and we're going to play Nine Men's Morris in the background. So, yeah, I'm going to see you after the intro, as always. Now, I'm very sorry for the lag. I don't know why, actually, because there's nothing in the background besides the game. Maybe it is actually because of the game. Could be the case, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, with that being said, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And I'm looking forward to this episode, but I'm not looking forward to the lag that I'm encountering. But yeah, before we even go through the episode, there's 3 things that I'm willing to talk about. The first one is the link in the description to the podcast, because this actually is a podcast, but I assume that often people are just seeing it on the YouTube video or as the YouTube video. Therefore, please check out the links in the description and also the podcast link. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcast, on Stitcher, on TuneIn, on wherever you might be. The podcast is also going to be there. The other 2 links are the notes. You know, it's not going to be applicable to this certain video, but it's going to be applicable to all the other videos or a lot of other videos. It basically is somehow a summary of the videos. Kinda, or the framework that I was using. So there's a lot of information in the notes. Check them out, they're free, they're on a Google Drive link. So there's not like virus shit or something like that. They're not gonna be there. And if you're willing to add some music to your video or to the video, there's also a link down in the description which leads to a video, basically, or which leads actually to music. Not really a video, but leads to music. Like there are 5 or 6 or 4 different songs, and you can choose them for this video as background music, because normally I'm not having any background music, but still I believe it could actually be something quite great. So yeah, is it working? Because I'm not quite sure if it is working as I want it to work. It's actually lagging quite a little bit. Maybe I'm having to solving some things. Hello. Is it working now? We'll be fine. If it was, it's gonna be definitely about the fucking stupid shit here. Is it? Yeah, it probably is. Even though I'm not quite sure about that. Math Playground, Master of the Games. Fuck you, please. Hello. It's working. I don't know why, but it is broken. So, I changed my decision, and I think we're just gonna go through a bunch of Reddit questions, because I think they can also be very, very, very important, not only for me and not only for the person that asked the question, but also for all the other people. The whole 9-man Morris thing didn't work out quite as well as I wanted it to, just because I'm having severe fucking CPU issues and performance issues, and therefore we're not going to be able to do that. But this might actually be something else. This might be actually kind of uncut, kind of completely, but a little bit longer. It might be the case, you know. Maybe I'm trying out that way of the podcast. Maybe it is just doing better like this. I don't know. We're gonna see, and we're gonna have a look at it. But yeah, we're gonna see. You know, I'm probably gonna cut out really long pauses, because sometimes I'm doing really long pauses, unfortunately. But never mind. You know, let's go through the first question. You know, maybe therefore we're gonna go through all the questions that we're gonna encounter. But yeah, you know, we're gonna see. We are gonna notice that. We're gonna just see if it is just about something or whatever it's gonna be about. It's gonna be about. No, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Really not. I don't know who to ask about this. My girlfriend and I have broken up, but she has depression, and now she's taking it very hard. Well, you know what? I assume that there's gonna be something like, well, I'm very sorry, and I do not want this to be the case, and I don't know, there's going to be something like that, and I can really feel with this person, because it must be something that's so entirely fucked up, especially in such a position when you know that the other person is not doing that great mentally, or the other person is having some problems mentally. Then it is just something that's really fucked up and really shitty. Like it really, really, really is. But yeah, let's see, and let's read the question. She's getting worse and worse. She broke up with me because of my actions, but now she's feeling suicidal thoughts, and her depression is getting worse. I feel so guilty. What if something happened and it was my fault? I don't know how to go on with the guilt. Is there anybody out there who has had a breakup with someone that has a mental health issue? ? This breakup is all my fault, which makes it worse. The thing is, is probably not only your fault, I assume, because most often it is just the business of two people, the first person is you and the second person is the other person. Of course, in some situations, it might have also been a case that it is just only one person's fault, because if you're cheating and if you're doing some other dumb shit, then of course, like, it's not gonna do any good to your relationship. Of course, like, it just kind of makes sense, I guess. Even though I do not want to say that it is like obvious, but it doesn't necessarily, or because it does not necessarily have to be obvious for everyone. Maybe it is obvious for me, but this doesn't really know or say that it is going to be obvious for everybody else as well. But let's see if there are some comments. You may have done her wrong, but you're not responsible for how she's handling it. To apologize is right, but you cannot be responsible for the actions of someone else, which is totally the case. Guess apologizing sincerely will go a long way. Yeah, I would say so. And I'm actually very happy that these people are responding to this question in such a way, because I think being nice and being kind and being sincere is always just getting you a long way, and is always just a good thing to do. It's always good. It's always good to be nice. It is always good to be a generous person. It is always good to just try to at least be nice in every single situation. Of course, there's going to be some situations where it is a little bit more difficult because people, and just things are going wrong ways and all these things. Like, it can happen. It really can happen. But still, I would say, like, apologize and try to make it the best you can, I would say, in terms of, like, as I'm gonna just say very often probably, apologize very sincerely and very generously. It's not gonna be like, okay, I'm very sorry about that, and it's like how it is and whatnot. No, just be nice and try to say it in a nice way. Like, tonality matters. Tonality really, really, really fucking matters. It really does. Still, apologize and talk to her, I guess. Just because you broke up doesn't really mean that you're not allowed to talk to her. But I don't know. It doesn't also mean that you just should be getting together once again. Wouldn't necessarily also say so, even though it might have been your fault because we don't know the full context of this question. But just talking to this person, trying to just help this person, whether it is actually your girlfriend, your ex-girlfriend, or your ex-boyfriend, no matter what. Yeah, why not? Why really not? I can't get over this person and it is so annoying. Today it's just all about relationships, isn't it? Or just some relationship issues, some sort of. In 2017, I got to know a really nice dude at a party and we got along great. After 2 hours, we already sat on the couch, cuddling and drunkenly singing. From then on, the friendship got more intimate, much faster than friendships normally develop for me. We cuddled on a regular basis and I would allow him to touch me wherever I'm not gonna go through all the details. Anyway, I'm deeply frustrated by this whole situation. I have been in for 1.5 years. I know it will get better someday and somehow, but I said the same thing a year ago and I'm getting tired of waiting for that. If anyone can help me figure out this goddamn bitch of a complicated, unsatisfying situation, I would be very thankful. And the first question is, I would have a million questions to even start trying to get a plan together. I can absolutely guarantee that whatever this thing is that you're going through is beatable. Probably a lot easier than you think. You seem like a shy type, so I won't pry. But I'm curious as to how old you are and how happy you are in the other parts of your life. So I'm definitely lacking a lot of information there just because I'm not going through the whole one. And I'm also not intending to go through the whole one. But some basic stuff there is that most often it's just going to take some time. Most often it's just going to take you some time until things are built. Relationships, as this person might have definitely seen, they take time, to just get into a relationship, to just be comfortable with the person, to just get everything right. This all takes some work and also a lot of patience and also therefore a lot of time as well. And I would say take the time, but be sure that it makes sense to take the time. What I mean is, of course, I might be working on the podcast and I like to work on it, but should I be working on it when I do not like the place where this might be getting me? When I do not like to be just a person that is leading a tribe, quote unquote, attention, quote unquote, attention, quote unquote, leading a tribe. So should I then do it if the result this singular thing is getting me is something that I do not really want? No, completely not. It wouldn't make any fucking sense to do something like that. But on the other hand, it is like sometimes, or especially if it is something that you know it's going to lead to something very good, you know that it is going to lead to something pretty amazing, then push through. It is about the tip. Look it up. The tip is something pretty amazing. A pretty amazing book from Seth Godin once again, or just once again, talking about Seth Godin here. Still, communication is also a pretty huge thing. You know, no matter what's going on, often it is a problem of communication. Yeah. It just often is communicating how you're feeling, trying to let this other person communicate how he or she is feeling, and just try to communicate. To communicate on an honest basis, definitely being honest and definitely being just truthful to yourself, to the other person, and trying to just communicate how you're feeling and what you want to communicate, you know, whatever it might be. It's something that's incredibly, incredibly fucked up in a lot of relationships, I would say. You know, the whole communication basis and the whole communication itself. And yeah, you know, yeah, it often is. It often is. And also something that I've realized, especially in the whole Christmas hemisphere in the last few weeks, basically. I wanted actually to say month, but it's not months, it's weeks. The thing is, a lot of people talk about or think about like, okay, I'm gonna buy this person something that is pretty nice, that I find pretty nice. The problem there is, well, should you actually care about what you think nice or what you think is nice? Not really, just because it is about the other person. It is about what the other person wants to do and what the other person wants to have, you know, and wants to get. Whether it is something materialistic, whether it is something like nothing, because some people just actually do not want anything for Christmas, like me. I don't want anything because it's probably going to be something materialistic and I don't need anything basically. But yeah, some other shit or some other things that you can't buy me, like success on YouTube, having some people to talk to and all those things. Like there's a variety of different things that I nearly just choked myself with my gum. Well, yeah. So let's think about what the other person wants to have in a relationship, for Christmas, for Easter, and whatever it might be all about. Think about the other person a little bit more than you think about yourself and what you want out of something, out of the relationship, out of the negotiation, out of whatever. Of course, we often think about ourselves because it is just something that we do as human beings, I guess. But sometimes, as I think it is in this case, it is like, yeah, often not that good, and I just gulped down a piece of my chewing gum. I should probably take it out, but never mind. My girlfriend left me. Again, what's going on? Like, by the way, before I just start with this one, today I'm actually in the self-help subreddit and not in the self-improvement subreddit. So I don't know. It might just be a huge difference. You know, it might be something completely different just because it is like something different. It's just another subreddit, I guess. Not really, I guess, but I mean, like, it is. And it's like, yeah, it kind of seems to be completely different. And there's also not that many people on it as in a self-improvement one, but we're going to go through a bunch of other ones afterwards as well. But we're going to see, we're going to have a look at it. My girlfriend left me. Sorry for my English, I'm kind of suck at English. I really love and care about her so much, and I always try to do everything I could to give my best for her. She had a problem with her life, and I always assisted her, even if I even face her family myself to help her, even though I wasn't that kind of confident person, but I did. She really appreciated me when she needs help because she couldn't put after whatever. That's where she started to change. She blamed me that I abuse her, cheat on her, and even say I never show my effort to her in front of me. I've been holding it for a few months, and I always told her and forced myself to calm down and try to help her. She lied to me, hanging around with people that isn't really nice. I do everything for her, and I almost lost half of my salary because of her. Yet she never apologized but blamed me for it. She always said that she the one to have to understand me, make our relationship better, etc. But she never thought what I did for her except blaming me for something I didn't even do and make me live, blah, 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 blah. So I never expected the girl that I always do everything, think about, help her, even I'm busy, treat and leave me just like that, like nothing. I never feel anything like this. I don't know who I am to her. Really, really, really important thing, I would say. And today I think it's gonna be probably more about relationships than in the whole entire fucking quote-unquote career that I had on YouTube here. And also with the podcast. Like, it's not necessarily something bad, because we all are in relationships with people. I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm an expert on that. I am in a relationship at this point in time. Sometimes it's doing great, sometimes it's doing not so great. And the whole YouTube and social media thing is not often the best thing for a relationship. This is just completely just what I have to say. It definitely is the case. But on the other hand, I have to say, like, I know what this person is talking about. Still, I would say I think it is probably a pretty good thing that this person left this person. I think it is actually a pretty good thing that they two broke up, even though I can understand, like, if you're just putting so much money and so much effort into something and then it is just suddenly gone, it is, like, pretty fucked up. But I guess to some degree that it is more or less more about how she felt, because I think it is just the boy who is writing now, isn't he? I would say so. I'm not quite sure, but I think so. The thing is, I would say that there's just definitely something going on in the girl's life, and it's probably kind of fucked up, and there's probably something going on, and she's probably not really happy in the relationship, or she wasn't really happy in the relationship, just also because she was cheating kind of a little bit. At least it is what I have understood there. Even though, let's talk about the other person once again. Let's talk about letting the other person being happy, or let the other person be happy. Like, okay, is it actually good for the other person that we are in a relationship? And it is, by the way, also something that I had to think about. I really had to think about, just because I understood, and I've just also seen that the whole social media thing and the social media efforts that I'm putting a lot of effort in, they're not necessarily doing any good to the relationship, not always. Of course, it is stressful, and of course, there is a lot of time that I have to put into this. And then I thought, like, well, does it actually make sense to be in a relationship with this person? Am I doing any good to this person? It is not about me then. It is about the other person once again. I'm not thinking about myself then. It is about the other person then. I'm thinking whether I'm doing any good to this person. And if you're loving somebody really, really, really a lot, then you're probably going to think about that as well. Maybe not in the case of, like, okay, should I actually leave the person to make the other person's life a little tiny bit better? It is, like, huge, and it is very extreme, of course, but it is kind of the exact same thing. It is maybe what you should be doing if you are loving somebody really, really a lot. They're just letting them have their life and their life they actually want to have. And if you're just a barrier between them and the life they want to have, then, I mean, it is fucked up. And it is just a shitty place to be in, and it is a really shitty position to be in. But it's like, what should you do? Of course you can change, and of course you can change some things, but in some situations there is maybe nothing to change. Maybe just things do not fit really well and whatnot. So think about the other person. Think about how she's doing or how he's doing. Doesn't matter. And maybe think about them once again a little bit more than you're thinking about yourself and about your own pleasure and your own satisfaction and your own whatever. Let's see the next one. Let's go through the next one. I do have to upvote everyone. I have to. I feel like I'm drowning and it is my own fault. Let's see what it is all about. Sorry if this isn't the right place. I just need to get this off my chest, and just a heads up. The layout is going to be a mess, as I don't know how to word this on, and my mind is all over the place. Yeah, we all can understand. Like, it is all something okay, I would say. Like, it is what it is. It is my fault, and as much as I could point fingers, I only have myself to blame, since I am responsible for giving up on myself and letting things get this bad. And yeah, it is quite always the case. Basically, blaming yourself is most often a pretty good idea, just because it is, it's putting you into a place of being in charge of things, which means, like, you can do things, you can change things. If you're blaming somebody else, you put this particular person in a place to change things. When you're like, okay, my mother's doing something like this and doing something like that, and I just can't do whatever I want to do just because of her, then you're blaming her, of course. But you're like, okay, unless my mother changes something about her behavior or about whatever she is doing, I can't do anything about it. She has to change, and then I can do something. But if I'm blaming myself for whatever it is all about, I can change and I can do something about it. And then it is actually way fucking faster than it is to just having to wait until somebody else is just changing and all those things. Like, it just makes sense in the end. And if you're thinking about it, I lost my job a few months ago as my back gave out and they forced me to work to the point where I couldn't stand for longer than 20 minutes at a time without crying, and because of the stress of everything going on, my mental health started to plummet and I started hearing the voices again and seeing things because I lost my job. I couldn't pay my credit card bills, making my head getting even worse, of course, something that we all can understand, I guess. I've been applying to jobs like crazy, desperately trying to get any income, and then something broke in me. I stopped applying to jobs and then I stopped leaving the house and then finally stopped leaving my bed for days at a time. Last week I missed my appointment to get more meds, so I just let myself go through withdrawal, which is making me feel like death. Today it all stops. I'm going to keep working out and eat properly, and I'm going to call the bank and explain what is going on. I'll call the doctors and work on my CV because as hard as it is to look at my issues and acknowledge them isn't causing me much more pain by ignoring them. Yes, it is definitely the case. If you're ignoring all those things, they are gonna add up. You know, it is all about, in the end, then about, what is it called? Like, it is a pretty known and common term in when we're talking about stocks, compound interest, isn't it? You know, they're just really, really small, tiny little things. But if you're just keeping them, and they're all gonna just compound, and they're just gonna compound, and then everything is fucked up, and you're gonna be in a really, really, really shitty place. And which is really not something to look forward to, and which is also really not something to do, and whatever. So it's not a good idea. It is always a good idea to just work on some things as fast as you can, and not just drag them out like shit and whatnot. Just work on things quite immediate, which is something that you're gonna hear quite often, you know, especially from some people, some specific people, maybe parents as well and whatnot. And it is not necessarily always the best thing to do. I'm always doing it like, okay, I'm gonna do this at this point in time, and I'm gonna do this at this point in time, or on that point in time, or whatever. So I'm also dragging them out like shit, you know. I'm always not just, I'm also not doing it like kind of immediately. I'm also kind of like, okay, I'm gonna do it just whenever. Most often it is about some things that I do not really enjoy and I do not really want to do and I do not even see a sense in doing. It's most often gonna be about some school shit, kinda. And also just about just tidying up my room, as you can actually see in the background. It is not necessarily something that I'm just doing quite often. But something that I have to say is that you gotta have some purpose in life. You know, it is like, purpose is one of the things that is gonna just drive your motivation. First of all, you know, if you think like, okay, I'm gonna change the planet and I'm willing to change the planet, like, of course, first of all, you're gonna need a plan, you know. How are you gonna do that? You know, what are you gonna do to accomplish this thing and whatnot? Like, there's gonna be a plan and there's gonna be a lot of things that you have to do. And I also have to say, like, having something to do is also a good thing. You know, I'm always having something to do. And I do not really like to have nothing to do. You know, of course I'm resting, and of course I'm also watching some YouTube videos, and of course I'm doing quite nothing sometimes as well. But it is like, I'm quite often having in my mind that I could be doing something. And this is actually for me something that's incredibly important because I don't like to be bored. Of course, it's gonna be something different for everyone else. Not everyone has a lot of fucking energy just all the fucking time. You know, it is something that some people have, and it is just something that some people don't have. But it is definitely something that can be driven by purpose and having a purpose and having something to do, which is maybe included in the purpose and maybe included in just knowing what you should be doing with your life, which definitely is kind of also a part of purpose, I would say, you know. And it is just also something that Viktor Frankl also has been talking about, a psychologist, I guess, but I'm not quite sure, or psychoanalyst. And this is like always something that I mess up. But what is your purpose? You know, what is your purpose? 3 questions that might help you there, which is actually always 3 questions that I'm pointing out in the very end of every episode. Why are you here? So why are you on this planet? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? Because there's definitely something that really pisses you off. Just really, really, really pisses you off. There's probably going to be something like that, you know? Really, there's going to be something like that, you know? When it is kind of, I don't know, some bullshit in school that is pissing you off just because it is a system, whether it be something that's mechanical, like a vending machine that is like complete bullshit and doesn't make any sense and is really kind of inefficient, for example. Maybe this is pissing you off. Maybe software on your PC isn't working as well as it should be working, which is pissing you off. And all those things. Like, there's got to be a bunch of things that might be pissing you off. And haven't said that so often in quite some while, to be honest. And it's like, change these things. And then you got to have, first of all, you maybe are having a business right ahead because you know that it's, often it is the case that when something is pissing you off, then it's probably also pissing off somebody else, not only you. And then you're having a business if you're able to solve that, and you're having a purpose, the purpose of kind of working on a business and growing it and scaling it and all those things. Like, purpose is important. This is the point of my small little speech. Purpose is important. The core of self. How do you get to the core of yourself to discover who you truly are and what you truly want? I would definitely say a pretty good strategy to finding out what you should really be doing and what you like the most and all these things, which is somehow like a part of that, is just trying out a lot of things. You don't know if you like bananas if you don't eat any bananas. But if you eat a banana, you can say like, okay, I like it or no, I just completely fucking hate it. You are then having the choice. But if you don't try the banana, you will never ever know if you just like it or not. And I think it is the exact same case with everything in life and also with jobs and purposes as well, I would say. Try out a lot of things, especially if you're young and if you're having the time and also there's nothing that you just have to give a fuck about, like families and expenses and all these things. Just work on that, I guess. Just work different jobs, just try different things, just move different, just be in different places. It is probably also going to help to just figure out who you are, what you really like, which I think is a big part of who you really are. And try out things. This is kind of the point, I guess. Let's see. I'm going to upvote this as well. Does life lessons learned in the past really help you? It really does, at least in my point of view. And also just from people that have been living, and really, really, really amazing people like Stoic philosophers, just in general. Then let's talk about Warren Buffett. Let's talk about Tony Robbins. Let's talk about all these people that are living and they have done shit. Like Mark Cuban, he's built quite a lot of businesses. Elon Musk, he's also built quite a lot of businesses. Ray Dalio. There's quite a lot of people that you just can think about as heroes rather than mentors, probably. I feel like it is good to know things, but they become useless as long as you get to know about them. Because next challenge is gonna teach you something new, which it has no relation with your past lessons. Hope you understand. We don't need to understand, like not everyone does or needs to understand what you're talking about. It is also actually a pretty good way to create tension, create like an environment to maybe also filter out people. And like, okay, you can be like, I'm gonna just produce content and the people that are gonna understand it or that are understanding it, they're gonna be welcome. Of course, everyone else is also welcome, but they're gonna stick to it, And some other people that are not gonna understand it, maybe they're then trying to understand it, which creates tension in terms of like, okay, they're going to try to understand that, therefore they're going to stick around, therefore then they're going to ask questions and all different kinds of things that might lead to this by talking about some things that not everyone is going to understand. But I do just now get what he's actually referring to, because if you think about like, does life lessons learned in the past really help you in the future or in the now? I would say definitely, which is also like a problem then if you're thinking about school, because you can be like, well, I'm going to learn so many different things in school if I want to, but I don't really know if I'm going to need them in the future or not. Somebody said, and I unfortunately do not really remember whom it was, he said that whenever you can learn something, please learn it. And I think it is actually kind of the truth, and I think it actually does make sense. Because, at least in my point of view, and at least as what I have seen, some things really came handy that I've learned just in the past, and it's been really important for me in the now or in the future and whatnot. Like whether it is a character trait, whether it is like a quote unquote soft skill or whether it is a hard skill, like I know how to program shit, I know how to design something, I know how to build something. It's maybe gonna be something that's pretty handy in the future. And I've seen it as well. I do just like, let's talk about Photoshop. And I've been just trying to figure out Photoshop when I was in, I don't actually know what it's called. Like, this is a huge problem of mine, that I do not know just how schools are called and whatnot. Like, yeah. But it's been like 4 years. I've been attending my graphic design school for 5 years now. It's the 5th year actually, so for 4 years, 4 years and a half. And I think it's then been like 8 years ago, something like that. It's like 7 years ago, let's say 6 years ago, let's 5 to 6 years ago, something like that. I've also been playing around with Photoshop, and of course I'm now having to deal with Photoshop, and of course I had quite a good just time with quote unquote learning, because I've already knew quite a lot of shit. Therefore I had a pretty easy time to just deal with that. And I didn't really know back in that time, or back in that position where I was in, that I'm gonna just attend this graphic design school. I didn't really know that, I really didn't. But in the end, it was something quite handy and something quite cool. So yeah, it's still difficult to say, okay, this is gonna be good in your future, and it is definitely just really difficult to say that for yourself. Maybe relying therefore on other people can help sometimes. I don't know if you just, it depends. It heavily depends. Of course, if there's somebody that knows you really well, in terms of like maybe your parents that have seen like what you have been doing in the past, which might be also something that you're gonna do in the future, or something in that field which you're gonna do in the future, maybe relying on their just thoughts or opinions, not really relying, but also giving a fuck about them, I would say, might be something pretty cool and pretty interesting and pretty useful and whatnot. But yeah, people pleaser. I've already went through a new beginning. It's probably gonna be like, okay, it's the new decade, and I'm gonna just be a completely different person. Hey guys, a happy new year. If anyone is struggling with anything, just know that you can always come message me, and I'll respond as soon as I can. I'm going to make it my best effort to put others first this year, and to help and be here for people, even the people I've never met. My praise and time will be for anyone that needs it, and through God we can get through this. Once again, happy new year. And they said like, you're amazing. I really appreciate you being there and putting yourself out there. I have started a blog about my mental health journey and how I handle and so forth. Happy new year, strong buddy. Like, it is something amazing. Like, always the responses that are there in the community of self-help, especially on Reddit. Like, it is insane. It is amazing how nice people are, and how just amazingly fast they also are just writing back. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. Because sometimes it's like, I'm actually trying to help people there, and I'm just messaging or just answering their posts and being in the comments and whatnot, and I never ever get a reply. And it is actually something that I do not want to necessarily say that it is pissing me off or something, but it's like something, it's strange, kinda, because I'm just willing to be in a conversation, and then it is like they're not replying and whatnot. Like, I don't know. I finally understand what to do with that feeling we get after cleaning our rooms and doing chores. It's probably gonna be it's not that long even. Anyone has been just kind of strange at the background image that you maybe are able to see there. It's like some mountains and whatnot. But yeah, anyone who has been actively working on improving their lives knows exactly what I mean when I describe the surge in motivation following a good old room cleaning. After cleaning our room, we feel like we can't tackle anything and usually move on to doing laundry, cleaning the kitchen. I wouldn't say usually, because it's not going to be usually, but I know what this person is going to talk about. There's also a book, and the book is called The Magic of Tidying Up Your Room, I think it is called. I'm not quite sure. I really am not quite sure, but I think it's called. It's a pretty good one as far as I remember. I've only read a summary of it, but I think it's as far as I remember, as I said, I think it's been quite an okay one, quite a good one, quite interesting one, because it's an interesting concept. But yeah, image, great future does not require a great past. From going to jail for drug abuse to one of the highest paid and respected actors, Robert Downey Jr., I think he's called. I'm really bad at these things. I'm really bad at names and whatever. Yeah, Downey Jr. Yes, it is amazing. It is amazing what some people actually can do. And a lot of people have the potential, but unfortunately, not such a lot of people are taking care of their potential and or using their potential for something. Really, really unfortunate. Gonna upward these two as well. it be like that something. I use this phrase so often, and it's pretty much a way to shrug off anything that happens as shit happens. Do you think this is a pretty stoic way to think? It be like that sometimes. It be like that sometimes. I actually don't know what that means. I actually don't know. I really don't know what that means. I don't know what this person is willing to say, so I'm gonna upvote that, but it's I don't really know. Could be a regular day of work, had to repost this here. It is in this design section, so yeah. Another stoic quote, yes, from Seneca actually. There is no genius without a touch of madness. I'm not quite sure about that though. There is no genius without a touch of madness, again. To choose to go for that new project, to choose to educate yourself on a new subject, or to choose to try a new hobby. In the end, others around you might say it's a little mad. And you've all seen others dancing, teaching, or doing something we deem crazy because our current mindset says that we can't do that. And I have to say, like, yeah, it is definitely the truth. And I think it is also something that I will encounter, and I have also encountered, like, you're crazy, you know, you're doing some things. Like, I do also understand that people are taking care of me, and people are trying to just try to not let me get into some bullshit, especially when it is about just food and whatnot, because I have a completely kind of strange diet. I'm not eating a lot of things that other people are eating, and those things. Like, I am having a different diet than just anyone else that I know, actually, just know personally. And it is definitely something that parents and people that are pretty close to you are sometimes concerned about. And I actually have to say, like, okay, I understand that, because, well, it is really not something that you have seen before. And of course, they are going to see that as maybe a problem, especially if they're having a background in, or just know things about, like, mental disorders in terms of eating and all these things. Like, I do understand that people are concerned. And I think it is also just something to think about. And once again, we are coming back to just thinking about other people a little bit more than you think about yourself. It might be kind of the underlying concept of the whole video here, or podcast. I know it might really be, but let's see. It's just loading. We're actually 40 minutes in. It's one of the longest episodes, just consciously longest episodes that I've been recording in a really, really, really long time. And it feels actually pretty great. Doesn't feel great if I'm thinking about editing it, but it really feels great sitting here and talking about some things that I actually care about. Like, I like it. I really like it. You know, I might be doing this more often, even though it's like just the setting is pretty good. Like, it is dark outside. I'm gonna eat afterwards. I've had a pretty good day. A pretty good day. But it still is like a little bit fucked up that it's loading right now. But I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna just take the time and talk about some things that are important. Like, really think about other people a little bit more often, I would say. Like, this really, yeah, I'm making this now the underlining just concept of the whole video. So trying to be empathetic, trying to be kind, trying to just see other people and just understanding their thoughts and understanding their points of view. I do not want to say that you should be having the exact same point of view as just everyone else, or a person that you're trying to understand maybe, but just first of all accept them, I guess, and then try to understand them, try to understand their feelings, try to understand their points of view, which is definitely not necessarily easy. You know, it is a simple concept once again, but it is not going to be very easy. But if you're just like stepping into their shoes, stepping into their life, then it is like, I think it is a good point to start to understanding them. You know, if you're seeing their life, and if you're just trying to be in their life, trying to see what it might be just at home for them, you know, how they might be feeling, what they might be thinking about, what they might actually be seeing in front of them, you know. Because we all seeing different things. I might be seeing, first of all, let's talk about colors here. Like, I don't know, my t-shirt might be pink for me. In the camera, it is more like reddish. For somebody else, it might be even blue, or maybe something completely else, just because color blindness and all these things are a thing, you know? Still, like, yeah. Let's go through another one, just because everything is okay right now. And by the way, I hope that I'm having enough space on my PC, and I wonder how big this video is gonna be. I think it's actually gonna be like 5 GB or something. which is okay, I guess. I don't know, for the size of the video or for the length of the video. Like 40 minutes of video just being like 5 gigabytes is actually quite okay, I guess. I'm not quite sure. I actually really am not. Also gonna upload this one. Today I learned that self-driving cars can cruise to avoid paying to park. What the fuck? I didn't actually think about that. Like I honestly didn't think about that it could be a thing. But as I'm just kind of seeing this and as I'm just reading it, like, yes, it is a good thing. When you factor in electricity, depreciation, wear and tear, and maintenance, cruising costs around 50 cents an hour. This is still cheaper than parking, even in many smaller towns. Yes, because parking is fucking just amazingly expensive. I can understand it, like maintenance of streets and maintenance of whatever. It's expensive, you know, but still, like, I don't know, like, it's so expensive, you know. By the way, I'm not even having my driver's license up to this point. You know, I'm really having to do this and I really have to take care of that. But I don't want to. I don't want to learn that shit, you know, because it actually takes some time and also such a lot of money. Like, such a lot of money. I think it's 2K or 3K that I'm having to pay for my fucking driver's license. Just for getting such a piece of maybe advertising even. Advertising for the government, basically, some kinda. The thing is, like, I can understand it as well. Like I can, well, it's like a lot of just people that have to work on that. Like it has to just go to the capital of Austria, which is Vienna, and then it just has to get back, I guess at least, you know, I don't actually know. But I think it's just a long way and so forth, which of course is not gonna be worth 3K. And like, of course, I think the place where I'm just learning to drive and whatnot, like it also costs something, also maintenance for the cars and just employees and all these things. But I guess like it is a pretty viable, especially if you are already in the business. I think it is a pretty viable business, kinda, I assume. Actually, not quite sure about that. Always find time for the things that make you feel happy to be alive. Yes, whatever it might be, you know. Maybe, even though, like, always find time for things that make you feel happy to be alive. What about just letting this be the central of your life? What about just letting this be kind of what you're doing all day long as work? Let's talk about that. Let's really talk about that. Why the fuck would it actually be like, well, I'm gonna have a really great hobby and I love my hobby so much that it is keeping me happy and alive, or happy to be alive? What about just doing this as a job? What about doing something for 8 hours a day or maybe even more, especially if you're willing to be successful, if you're willing to just earn a lot of money, and especially if you're just in whatever position you might be in, you might be just working just more than 8 hours. Why don't we just work on something that we actually like to work on and that makes us really happy? Why don't we do that? It doesn't make any fucking sense why so many people are just still working on some bullshit job they hate just because, most often, because of the money, which with they are then gonna buy some bullshit they don't actually need, which leads us back, which just goes back to, okay, let's talk about spending. Let's talk about spending your money on stuff that actually matters and just saving it for the things that you care about, you know, so that you can spend it on things you care about, and in the end, so that you're gonna be able to be secure, to have your quote unquote freedom, and so that you can actually just do whatever and work on whatever. What about that? You know, what about that? But yeah, I think this is gonna be the end of the episode. Like 45 minutes. It's quite something, you know. Even though I could stretch it out to 50, but I don't know. I'm not willing to do so. So yeah. I wish you the best health, happiness, and all success, and also hope that you're gonna rise yourself and you're gonna be remembered, which basically means your legacy. 3 questions that I want you to remember are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? These 3 are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea. But yeah, you're going to see. Please consider subscribing. I would appreciate that. And please also consider just rating and liking and or disliking and or just writing down into the comments and or hitting me up on social media if you want me to talk about something, if there's something you are in need of, whatever it might be all about. Hit me up. And I'm going to see you the next time.